nice day in Madison. You have a nice weekend. Is it nice? It's raining. It's raining. So what? You know, it's not snowing. I want to thank Ann McNeary for all of the work that she does to put together this conference each and every year. We know that it takes a long time, and she really does a great job. And why don't we give her a hand for all of that? And I also want to recognize all of the labor liaisons who work so hard to put this conference together and to do the work throughout the state on behalf of labor in the United Way. Jay Reinke, give a hand to Jay Reinke. And of course, Kurt Schmidt, who we heard from earlier. Andy Wacker, who also sits on our board of directors at the AFL-CIO Executive Board, who is not here, but let's give her a hand anyway. Dan Model, is he here in the house?
Yeah, he's in the hallway.
Dan, let's hear it for Dan. And I also want to put a shout out. Dan, thank you. Thank you for all that you do. You just got a round of applause that you missed, but thank you for all that you do. I also want to put a real shout out to Mike Balistreri, who has retired from the Milwaukee area United Way and Labor Council. He has done such a good job for labor and the United Way for many, many years. And I want to thank him for, I don't think he's here today, right, Ann? But we do want to thank him for all the work that he has done and salute him and wish him very well in his retirement. And of course, we want to thank our brother Hugh Sloan, who we are honoring here today. I also had the opportunity to be with Mark Westfall a couple of weeks ago at the Fox Valley Community Services and Labor Council annual dinner, where we celebrated Hugh Sloan and his retirement as well. Hugh, I mean, just decades and decades of service that you put in the work with our community and served as such a great beacon for all of those in need, and always having a helping hand and organizing so many people. Many of you have worked with him throughout the years to really elevate the needs of the needy in our communities, those that need work or those that need food, and always putting a great face of labor on all of that. And Hugh, you will never know all of the work that you've done, but let me just tell you on behalf of the AFL-CIO, the people that you have impacted will never forget that, and we want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts, Hugh. Thank you. And so I also want to thank our Ralph Jerkoliak winner of this year, my friend Chris Oleg. What an honor it is to be here with you today and to see you accepting that honor and that award. And really what you said is just so important, that what you do is because not only you have this giant heart and need to want to serve the community, but you're also putting on the face of labor for the community. And so you know that we in the labor movement, we are, we're the heroes of the middle class. We're the reason that people have good wages and jobs, and we know all that. And we also know that because we have that, we have the time and the dedication and the willingness to put our best foot forward to help our neighbors. And when you talk about putting those little libraries together, I mean, how many people are affected by this? Kids that walk by the little library and get to have a book. Anybody and it's a sharing. It really is about sharing of the community. And so that work that you did is so great. And then talking about taking the veterans out on these fishing expeditions is really terrific. And thank you, Chris Oleg, for all that you do. And please let's give another round of applause to Chris Oleg for his award. So the connection between our union movement and community services has deep roots. As union members, we stand together in our workplaces and we stand together with our neighbors after work. When a call goes out for help, we're there. sleeves rolled up and ready to do what needs to be done, because that's the kind of people we are. We know that our communities can truly be strong, can truly be prosperous when it's everyone for himself. And that's one of the lessons from our union movement. When each of us does our part on behalf of others, we all benefit. The impact of our combined efforts is greater than the sum of what we can accomplish as individuals. And you are living proof of this in your communities each and every day. Each and every one of you deserves to be honored for all that you do. And so, your continued work is just so important, and you combined with the work that we just talked about with Hugh and Chris, all of you and all of us together make that community spirit possible. Because if you remember, there was a time when working people had to put in impossibly long hours, 12, 16 hours a day, only to stumble home, eat a meager meal, and collapse for a few hours. And before they had to start the cycle all over again. And that didn't leave much time for their families, and just about none for their communities. The labor movement changed that. By standing together, we finally achieved that famous balance that makes for healthy lives and a healthy society. You know what it is. 8 hours for work, 8 hours for sleep, and 8 hours to do what we want to do. And as each of you demonstrate every day, often what we want to do is pitch in and do what we can on behalf of our neighbors. That is part of the union story that's not told enough, frankly. The benefits organized labor bring to our nation go far beyond the lives of individual workers. A quality job not only brings the financial wherewithal to support a family, it also forges a link between workers and society. It's pretty hard to think about volunteering your time when you're working 2 or 3 jobs just to make ends meet. Don't you agree? Mm-hmm. But sadly, we are at a moment in our history when too many elected officials, both at the state level and at the national level, seem determined to make the lives of working people even harder. Policy wonks on both sides of the aisle, both Republicans and Democrats, have characterized Donald Trump's new budget as pretty skinny. And that's accurate, because if it gets implemented, there'll be more than a few of our neighbors with a lot less food on their tables. Freezes and cuts will devastate programs that many of you probably work with every day. Programs that so many of our seniors and children rely on, such as, you can name one big one, Meals on Wheels. Can you believe that in this budget, they want to get rid of Meals on Wheels? Of all the things. So many services and other services that keep the heat and the lights on for working people every day. And if that's not enough, I know that you've been watching the news over the last couple of days. Now they want to allow our internet service providers to look at everything that we do on our phones and on our computers each and every day. And so that means all of the work that you do, everything that you do on your phone, and you're probably like me, I don't know if you are, but if you looked at my search history for the last couple of days, you could probably figure out everything that I'm thinking about, okay? You could think about what I'm researching. You could look at where I've been. I've been at this hotel for since Monday. Building trades was a couple of days this week, and so I haven't gone many places. You'll see that I'm right here. But you'll be able to see what I'm looking at, what I'm searching, and that has been done with the snap of the fingers with the legislature, with the Congress, and Donald Trump is set to sign that into law. And so that's reversing one of Obama's rulings, executive rulings, where he said that internet providers like your AT&T or whoever you get your internet from, okay, would not be able to sell your data to other companies. Well, now that's all been lifted, and all of the information that you do and all the work that you're doing to organize, all that's going to be open for the open market. And so that's something that we really want to keep our eye on, because we do value privacy. in this country. And we certainly know why privacy in our working lives is so important, and certainly in the union movement why privacy is important. That being said, there's also other things on the agenda. You all were aware of what happened with the health care debate in Congress just a few weeks ago. You know that what Paul Ryan wanted as a replacement was a very bad replacement indeed. With the analysis by the Kaiser Family Foundation revealed that an average American would lose $4,150 per year in health care tax credits and subsidies. And in some Wisconsin counties, assistance could have even decreased over $7,000. And so, not only that, but at the last moment, in order to satisfy some of the, what do they call them, the Freedom Party Republicans in Congress, Trump decided to throw in an extra kicker, which was to take out the essential services part of the deal. And that essential services part is really important, not only to people that get subsidies from Obamacare or the ACA, but that for every health insurance policy throughout the country. And that means that essential services have to be provided. They can't be cafeteria style. So that means that every insurance policy has to cover maternity care. Okay? And that's important for both men and women, as we know. Or hospitalization, or care of children. So all of that was thrown in at the last minute to say, okay, health insurance companies, you can pick and decide what you want to offer and what you can't. And that's a very, very dangerous road, because if you can't, who's going to be able to project what are the essential services that you or your family is going to need throughout your lifetime for health insurance. So we are very happy that they did pass it 65 times, repealing Obamacare, but they still never came up with a plan that was going to work in any meaningful way. And I do want to say that we do want to make sure that we improve. Sorry, I have this cough drop in my mouth. But we do want to improve on Obamacare for sure. And there's lots of things that we need to do. The premiums are way too high. We need to get a handle on it, and we need to get a handle on the runaway health care costs. And you only have to look at what's happening with our hospitals and the insurance companies and so forth. So certainly we need to do that. But I'm sure that you also want to talk about what's happening at the state level. And Governor Walker and his cronies have been very busy as of late, too. And his new budget picks up on the anti-worker agenda that has characterized his administration all along. And it is a bad budget. It is something that you all need to be very aware of. And I want to let you know that we have put together an analysis of the budget. It's about a 15-page document. We've really done a deep dive into that we And I think that maybe Ann can make some copies for you later to have maybe tomorrow, or we can email it to all of you. Some of you may have it already, but if not, it only really came out yesterday, so there may be some of you here. But we will get it to you so that you can study it and so that you can know what are the bad things in there for working people. Now, there are going to be Joint Finance Committee hearings throughout the state over the next couple of weeks. I encourage all of you to attend those meetings and speak out about the bad things for working people in that budget, okay? So when Ann gets you that packet, it will include the list of hearings out there to make sure that you get there and that you really call this out for what it is. Now, I call this a Scott Walker Classic budget. For those of you who have followed him throughout his career, as I have, when he was the county executive of Milwaukee County, he would every time put together a budget that was pretty broad and vague and wasn't funded. And so he would throw out this budget, but it wouldn't have the funding in it, and so he would make the county board of supervisors make those cuts. Well, he's done this in this one too, with with leaving the state with a $1 billion shortfall in the next biennium if it's passed. So we call it that. He's calling it, some others are calling it his retreat budget, because as you know, his numbers have been pretty underwater for many, many years. They haven't haven't gone over 50% approval rating in a very, very long time. And we know that. So this is his version of a kinder and gentler budget. But if you look at it closely and you look under the surface of it, you're going to see something very, very different. And so it really is kind of what they call doublespeak. You know, they say it's good, but it's really not. That's what's going on with this budget. So let's talk about a couple of the items in the budget, and I can answer questions afterwards as well. But have you heard that this budget is going to be really good for schools? Have you heard that in the news? Okay. Well, what it's not telling you is that the first budget of Walker slashed schools by $782 million. And so this budget does not come anywhere near to filling that hole that he created years ago. And so what he does is he increases the amount of money per pupil by $200 per pupil. But on the other hand, he's going to increase the dollars per pupil for unaccountable voucher schools by $217 per pupil. So he's giving them even more money, the unaccountable voucher schools, than our public schools. And it also, and you're going to love this one. Now we know in the labor movement how important it is to make sure that our skills are up, that people that we have doing jobs are very skilled and do quality work. Well, Scott Walker says now teachers will no longer need to renew their licenses. One time, give a license and that's it. That's all you need. And we think that that's a bad idea for our kids. We want to make sure that our public school teachers are up to speed on the latest advances in information and technology and teaching methods. And we don't want to take away that important licensure and from our teachers. And also, with the voucher schools, they're just going to have to file their paperwork with their tax status only one time. So you and 5 of your friends get together and you create a voucher school and you put out your information and your tax status. But you're going to only have to do that once, ever. And it doesn't matter if your tax status changes or anything else, you only have to fill out that information once. So it's another way of giving the public and parents less accountability for those voucher schools that are receiving public financing. And the other one that you may not know about what is in this budget is there's going to be no more minimum hours for schools. So no more minimum hours for schools, and we're not exactly sure what this means because we're going to ask some more questions about this. But those of you, well, all of you probably grew up in Wisconsin and you're very familiar with snow days. And so if you have a snow day, then what happens at the end of the year? You have to go longer, right? So, but they're giving up on the minimum hours necessary for education, both in voucher schools and public schools. So that means that, and the reason for it is that, well, it's too bureaucratic. You know, they count recess hours, and those really shouldn't be counted for educational hours. And you know, those K-4 kids, they count those hours too, and aren't those really educational hours? And so why don't we just get rid of the entire rule altogether? So that's in there too. For those of you who you know, well, we know that Scott Walker has you know, his opinion of working people in the state. We know that what he's done to attack unions and what he has done to attack prevailing wage. And that has happened over the past couple of years. And he's gone in now into this budget to finish it off. And men and women who work in the construction trades to receive a prevailing wage on the job. And that is very dangerous, not only for our men and women who work in the construction trades, but also for every customer and every person that that pays taxes, and every person that drives over our roads or drives over our bridges. Those prevailing wages mean that high quality work is done on our behalf. And all of us should be speaking out very clearly that we do not want this legislature to get rid of prevailing wages for our construction workers in Wisconsin. Ann McNeary told me on the way in that they are also cutting out dementia services throughout the state. I don't know if you're going to talk about that later, Ann, but I wanted to mention that, and that is another, who asked who asked the legislature to get rid of dementia services and for people throughout the state of Wisconsin. When it comes to transportation, this is another bad budget for anybody who has to get anywhere in the state. And because that means that the governor is engaging in the bad practice of doing more borrowing and less leadership. He is not, he is borrowing to do these road projects and infrastructure projects. And we have the solution for him. We know the solution, and we've talked about the solution for a long time. But that would take leadership on his behalf. That would take leadership on behalf of the legislature, and that is in short supply, let me tell you, because all they need to do is put in a stable source of funding for our roads, our infrastructure, and our bridges, and that stable source of funding could be an increase in the gas tax, it could be an increase in the vehicle tax, but some sort of stable mechanism so that we can make sure that our infrastructure is intact. Do you know that our roads now are the 49th worst in the country? We're not the last, but we're the 49th, and that's pretty bad. And so we really need to get a handle on it, because this budget calls for the delay of a lot of important projects. Many of you have come to Milwaukee recently through the zoo interchange. Anybody come through the zoo interchange recently? That's like a thrill ride coming through. And many of you may enjoy that, but you know what? We really need to get that project done, not put that on hold, and make sure that this gets done. Now, when it comes to this other idea, this grand idea of Scott Walker's, which is called streamlining state government. Have you heard that one? Well, when you hear that one, we should be very afraid, because what it is doing, it is consolidating power, it is taking away needed checks and balances, and it is driving down quality wages and working conditions in Wisconsin. First of all, when it comes to, now a lot of you in this room will be familiar with this, but the Labor Industrial Review Commission, also fondly known as LIRC. And so a lot of you know what this is, and I guess one day Scott Walker just woke up and said, you know what, I want to get rid of LIRC. And LIRC is an important commission because it is where if someone is injured on the job, if they want to appeal their unemployment case, or if they want to appeal a case that went to the Equal Rights Division, this is where they go. They go to this commission. This commission decides on those cases and renders a verdict for working people. Scott Walker has decided, you know what, we're just going to get rid of LIRC altogether. And that means that this needed check and balance on the system for workers is going to be gone. There are about 26 full-time workers that work at LIRC that administer these cases for unemployment and workers' comp and discrimination cases, and that's just going to be gone. Now, when you ask them why, they say, oh, we're going to, save some money. But as we know, with worker compensation, not a dime of taxpayer dollars goes into that, because our worker compensation system is funded completely by the fees, not by taxpayer dollars at all. When it comes to worker comp, I see, that we have a workers' comp advisory commission in Wisconsin, and we have, I serve as your chair on that committee, and also do a shout out to Scott Redmond, who is here, who serves as one of the advisors on our labor side, one of the commissioners on our side to put together these bills that relate to workers' comp, and we're in the middle of doing that, and we'll report on that more as we go forward. But the budget is not supposed to deal with worker comp, because it's supposed to all go through our advisory committee. But this budget, he decided to get rid of the court reporters, the people that take down all the notes of all of these cases that go through worker comp that can give an accurate record. And so both employer side and labor side attorneys are opposed to that. You know, I can go on and on about this, but I do want to mention a couple more things if you can bear with me. One of the things that he wants to do, and you know, the agenda of getting rid of unions, and the agenda of getting rid of any kind of regulations whatsoever. And he's taking now a backdoor approach to getting rid of licenses. And so what he is doing is, you know, there's a lot of different licenses for a lot of different occupations around the state of Wisconsin, okay? So in this budget, he puts together this commission, and it is all stacked with Scott Walker's people. And this commission is going to go in and review all of the licenses for all of the occupations in the state of Wisconsin. And while we may disagree on what different occupations need licenses and which ones don't, okay, one of the licenses is for interior design. Now, we may argue whether that should be a licensed position or not. I don't know. You know, when decorating, you know, I may prefer a robin's egg blue, and Gary may prefer a royal blue, and we may argue about that. But that is a licensed position, and I'm sure that those people in that occupation could let us know why that's important. But when it comes to anesthesiologist assistants, when it comes to plumbers, when it comes to electricians, when it comes to nurses, when it comes to acupuncturists, do you want somebody that's not licensed, you know, doing acupuncture on you? I don't think so. But this board is going to come up with the solution, and then it's pre-prescribed in the budget that whatever they come up with, whatever that group of licenses that they want to take away, is going to go straight to the legislature without any amendments possible. Okay? So it's like a pipeline to the legislature, and they have to pass it as is with no amendments. So this is really an end run around democracy, and it is really very, very dangerous because it's going to lower the services, it's going to lower the quality of these jobs, and it's going to drive down wages. So when you go out and talk about this at these hearings in the next couple of weeks, make sure you talk about this issue of licensing and to make sure that is just taken out whatsoever. That is not how we should be determining what kind of positions need licenses and which don't. When it comes to consolidating power, in the governor's office, right there in the document, 485 HR directors serve all across the state in different departments, the DNR or different departments. He's taking all of those positions and putting them together at the Department of Administration, where he has a direct control, and those people will work in that office. So that's consolidating power. Talking about, he also wants to increase the threshold for competitive bids from $50,000 to $100,000. So right now, if you've got a bid under $50,000, you don't have to put it out for competitive bid. Now he wants to put it up to $100,000, so if he wants their goods or services for the state, he can take his friends or his campaign donors or whoever it is up to $100,000, and guess what? That's an invitation for corruption, and it's an invitation for waste, and should not be in this budget. The due process for discriminated workers, very, very bad in this budget. So this is basically what it's doing, is saying that if someone has a claim that they want to bring to the Equal Rights Division, say their Family Medical Leave Act has been violated, say they donated an organ and they were supposed to get this much time off at work, and that didn't happen, and they're going to fight this. And they took this case to the Equal Rights Division. Well, in this budget, and you have to look at this, if the claimant goes and let's say the settlement was $1,000, and the worker says, no, I don't want to accept that settlement, I'm going to go forward with my case. And let's say he goes forward with the case and they're only at $900. Well, guess what happens then? Now that employee needs to pay not only her cost for her attorney's fees, they can't collect attorney fees from the boss anymore, not only her attorney fees, but also the fees of the boss's attorney. So what does that mean? Because you know they don't hire, they hire the highest cost attorneys possible. So what this does is takes away the ability for people really to have, to feel confident in going forward in the case that it's actually going to work out for them and not going to cost them more money. So this is a very bad idea. So we've got a lot going on in this budget. Make sure you keep a look on that. The state legislature as well is busy. Of all the important bills that they ought to be passing, the first bill that they wanted to go after was what? And that was project labor agreements. And those are project labor agreements that have worked well for decades in Wisconsin and all over the country, work to make sure that projects are done right, done on time, and have the highest quality standards. So they did that, they passed that through. And then another one, which they believe is an emergency budget that Jay Meinke and I were just talking about, and if you do need to know about this issue, and this is the child labor bill. Have all of you heard about this? What they want to do is take away the permits for children aged 16 and 17 years old in order to work. And so they're coming in and they're saying, you know what, it's too bureaucratic, it's too much. We want to take away the permitting process for 16 and 17-year-olds in order to work. But you know what this is? This is taking moms and dads out of the process. This is taking mothers and fathers that with their kids out of the process and providing a direct pipeline from the employer to the kids. And now, now I understand, and we understand, and I testified on this bill a number of times, and we are all for work. We are the AFL-CIO, for God's sake. We want everybody to work. We think it's very important for those first jobs. They learn important skills, and it's important to do that. But guess what? If a kid is not doing well in school, I've got 2 teenagers myself, and they're good kids, but they're knuckleheads too, right? I mean, they don't always know what's best for them, and that's because guess what? They're 15 and 17 years old. And so I asked my 17-year-old, do you think that we ought to have this bill, which takes away the permitting process? He said, oh yeah, I don't think I should have any rules. I said, okay, well that's why you're not in charge of this kind of stuff. Because we know that they're not old enough to do this. And I know that as a parent, if my kid does have a job, I don't know how well he does at it or not, but that's another story. But we know that if he was getting D's and F's and he wasn't doing very well, I would say, listen, mister, before you're going off to work at wherever, you're going to get your grades up. That's all there is to it. This bill takes away that parent's role in that process. Now, obviously, parents have, certain amounts of discretion over their kids, but the point is that this bill takes away parents out of the equation and also takes the money out of the enforcement. Because there's people that work at the DWD that enforce these child labor laws, okay? So they're not changing the child labor laws, which they took away in 2011, so 16 and 17-year-olds now can work any hours that they want as long as they're not during school hours. So that means they can now work until 2 in the morning or whatever it is. That's a bad thing too. But that happened in 2011 during the budget process. Jay Meinke can tell you stories later, and he shared a story with me that we think that these rules are not being abused by employers. He just shared a story with me about a 15-year-old. Now this bill wouldn't affect the 15-year-olds, okay? But the 15-year-old was ending up working every afternoon when he ought to be in school. And Jay looked at his record and said, why aren't you in school in the afternoon? He said, well, I have to work. So the kid is now busy working in the afternoons when he ought to be in school. There are cases of this going on all over the place. But this is a bad bill. This is something that you should talk to your legislators about. This takes away the enforcement mechanism of the state, of the DWD, to come in and say these jobs and these permits are unsafe jobs. They're involved in meat cutting or involved in dangerous situations. And right now the DWD can come in and say, listen, employer, you need to not have this kid doing this kind of work. And they will also call the parents and say, do you know that your kid is involved in potentially some dangerous work here? So we need to make sure that we speak out on this. We're the labor movement. We need to speak out on behalf of all workers and including these kids here. So that's just some of the things that are going on in our state government right now. We have local elections coming up April 4th. Make sure you get out there and vote for Tony Evers. I know that he will be with you on Saturday morning to talk to you. And we need to make sure that we get him elected. And of course, looking forward to 2018, it is time to say bye-bye to Scott Walker once and for all. And I know we have a long list of governor candidates who are out there, but we need to make sure that we have a candidate and all candidates that are people that are not going to be afraid to say they support labor 100% each and every day. We need to elect people that are not afraid to say the word union in public. We need to make sure that we keep them accountable. And we have to make sure that we have Tammy Baldwin, who is up for election in 2018, stay in the Senate. And we have to work to make sure that we elect people up and down the ticket that really care about working people. And let me just go back to April 4th. Those local elections, the AFL-CIO of Wisconsin has endorsed in 138 races, and you can look at who those candidates are and make sure that you're supporting them. So, there's work to be done, and each of you in this room has given generously your time and talents on behalf of your community, and I hope that some of you will consider taking on the role of running for elected office as well, because that is important to do. And to step up, and many of you have done that already and may choose to do that again. It's time to get Wisconsin back on the right track for working people, for the poor, for the hungry, for our students, for our seniors, and for the next generation. Those of us gathered here today are critical to making that happen. And brothers and sisters, we live in interesting times, and I'm sure that you see that each and every day that you go about the work in your community. But brothers and sisters, you are what America is all about. A nation that understands we are only strong when the least amongst us is taken care of. On behalf of your Wisconsin State AFL-CIO, I salute your service, and I look forward to standing with you in the months ahead as we help our communities, our state, and our nation live up to the highest ideals that you demonstrate each and every day. Thank you for your attention, thank you for your service, and as always, thank you for your solidarity.